Today is a magnificent March 9th, 2020. We're at a Long Island Railroad hotspot, Queens Village, in the borough of Queens. This is a station for Hempstead branch trains. We're just west of Queens Interlocking. Queens Tower was recently closed and the tower is now controlled by Jamaica. And there's the Queens Signal Bridge guarding the west end of the interlocking. The tracks numbered from right to left are 4, 2, 1, and 3. And there is the now closed Queens Tower. There's some maintenance away equipment occupying what I believe at that point is Hempstead branch track number 2. Here at Queens Interlocking, a few years ago, the tracks through the interlocking was straightened out. It was kind of a jumbled spaghetti trackage with a lot of curves and twists and high-speed switches. Now it's tracks that are 4 straight line tracks through the interlocking, and all 4 tracks can move through it swiftly, and there are high-speed switches within the interlocking. East of this interlocking, once you clear the Queens limit on the east end, you have mainline track numbers 1 and 2 on the left, and Hempstead branch track 1 and 2 on the right. From Queens westward, it's 3, 1, 2, and 4, left to right, mainline. And the station lies in a pretty decent neighborhood. The building in the background is alongside Route 25 or Jamaica Avenue. To get to the station, you make a left on Jamaica Avenue going west onto Springfield Boulevard, which goes under the tracks here. And 142, we have train 750 bound for Hempstead stopping on number 1 track. Excuse me, number 2 track. Number 4 track is temporarily closed. They're using the gangplanks today. And his next stop is Belrose, a little ways to the east. In between here and there, he'll be switching over to Hempstead branch track number 2 at the east end of Queens Interlocking. Believe it or not, in a few years, there's going to be a new station between here and Belrose, Elmont. It's going to serve a arena built for the New York Islanders. 148, here's 2052 for Ronkonkoma. And 153 approaching on number 2 is I think this is a diesel equipment maneuver. Eastbound.
Customers must board and exit from the first door of the first east.
Ooh, D30AC number 413 with a nice K5LLA salute. And at 157, approaching from the east, is train 651 en route from Port Jefferson to Jamaica. He'll be flying right on by on number 1 track. Oh, it's a beautiful day today. It's about 68 degrees. Looks like maybe these guys are finished for the day. Approaching eastbound at 226 is train 1708 en route from New York to Huntington. Looks like M9s. Passing these maintenance vehicles. Moving right along, he's going to switch from 2 to 2 at Queens Interlocking. If you can give me a better March 9th than this, you'll be super hard pressed. By Queens Tower at 227 is 551 from Oyster Bay to Jamaica. Well, that eastbound with the M9s was actually train 1706. But approaching now at 229 is train 755 en route from Hempstead to Atlantic Terminal in Brooklyn. He's right now coming off of Hempstead Branch Track 1. He's going to be slithering all the way over to Mainline Track 3 to make his station stop here. All trains from Hempstead that go west into the city that stop here make that maneuver all the way over from Hempstead 1 to Mainline 3. Years ago, before Floral Park Station was elevated, there was a ground level platform, I believe, that was elevated in the early 60s. There was a 4-track main through Floral Park with 2 side platforms, and the Hempstead trains used to slither over to the main line right there at Park Tower. But since that was closed and the station was elevated there and at Belrose, they slither over to the main line right here. And he's off to his next stop at Hollis. Maybe 30 years ago he would have stopped at Bel Air, but that station is gone between here and Hollis. And 236 approaching westbound is 2053 en route from Ronkonkoma to New York. He's going 1 to 1 at Queens. And at 245, 752 is departing behind me, headed for Hempstead. He should be switching all the way over to the right, past the tower. Now I guess he's going to do it further down. There's a couple of places where he can make a maneuver from 2 to 4, and then he'll be poised to go down Hempstead number 2. Well, they've removed the gangplank, and the maintenance vehicles look like they're heading west on number 4. They're probably going to tie down at the Hillside Maintenance Complex. No, they put it back, but they should be finished by the rush hour with the onslaught of trains that go through here. Well, no, they put it back, but probably for not much longer. They'll be taking it down for the rush hour when the onslaught of trains go through here. Here comes 2054 to Ronkonkoma at 252. Well, at 3 o'clock, the gangplank has finally been removed and all 4 tracks are open. Getting ready for the rush hour. And what a magnificent March 9th day this is. 70 degrees right now. Man, And at 3:06 approaching is train 1705 from Huntington to New York. He's going 1 to 3. Of course, with these nice high-speed switches they have here at Queens, going from main line 1 to main line 3 east of here is a smooth transition. Don't have to slow down at all. You're pretty much going straight iron, but the track numbers change. Now eastbounds through here, eastbound main line and eastbound Hempstead trains here don't impede one another. In fact, during the evening rush hour, you could have 3 trains abreast going eastbound, because east of here, main lines 1 and 2 are used for eastbounds for a little while. But westbounds, Hempstead trains coming off of their number 1 and main line trains coming off of their number 1 do impede with each other. The only time they don't is if the Hempstead train switches from Hempstead 1 to main line 1 here. Then you have main line 3 and main line 1s used for westbounds, with one not affecting the other. You can figure out what I'm talking about. And at 3:10 we're about to have a double dose of eastbound diesels. Approaching right now is train 554 from Jamaica to Oyster Bay. And our next diesel eastbound at 3:14 is train 2772. He's en route from Jamaica to Patchogue. He's also going down number 2 track. On the south side of the station, there's a little maintenance of weight tracks, stump track here. And there's a flat car. It looks like there's a frog on top of it. 3:22 p.m. we have westbound train 553 from Oyster Bay to Jamaica coming. He's passing the tower right now. So number 3 track here. And we got a Huntington train passing too. And soon he'll be slithering over to mainline track 2, east of the Queens interlocking. 3:32, here comes 757 arriving from Hempstead. Switching over to 3. Through, he got a westbound. He's running straight iron on 1. 757 is out of the way. And approaching at 3:39 is train 2094 from New York to Ronkonkoma. I've been here over 2 hours. I haven't seen a single M3 yet, which means I may see a ton of them during the rush hour. Well, 754 seemed to be in an awfully big hurry to get out of the station here, heading for Hempstead. Here's 2096 en route from New York to Ronkonkoma. Was actually train 2056 by at 344. And approaching westbound at 350 is New York and Atlantic train RS41. It's coming back from Babylon, heading towards Fresh Pond Yard. And you can almost set your watch to that train through here. Leader was former Long Island GP 38-2, number 261. Westbound MU Express on 3 at 353. Approaching at 354 is Long Island train 556 en route from Jamaica to Oyster Bay. We'll be running east on number 4 track, switching to main line number 2 track east of Queens. He's slowing down a little bit to do just that. .56, we have an eastbound MU. It's got an approach signal as 556 is ahead of him, pulling away. Yeah, it's a Huntington-bound train, and he had a clear signal as he was approaching the signal bridge. Well, 406, here comes train 756 to Hempstead. Train 656 to Port Jeff should be coming soon. And 756 is off to Hempstead. 656 to Port Jefferson from Hunters Point should be coming right about now. And the time is 4:10 and approaching now on number 2 is train 656 en route from Hunters Point Avenue to Port Jefferson. The first of the Port Jeff rush hour trains. And at 4:15, here comes train 1716 from New York to Huntington. And this is 7:59 departing for Brooklyn at 4:25. Next stop, Hollis. And I'm having a hard time believing it's winter still. And time is 4:28. We get to see train 2058 from New York to Ronkonkoma knock down the signal at Queens. Number 4. And 4:31, here comes train 1718 from New York to Huntington. A first M3. And at 4:40, here comes train 2350, New York to Farmingdale with another batch of M3s. Here they come. .45 approaching on number 4 track, or number 3 track, are M9s from Huntington to New York. I had seen that equipment pass by eastbound earlier in the afternoon. Approaching at 4:47 is train 558 en route from Hunters Point Avenue to Oyster Bay, east on number 2. Got a flurry of activity at 4:48. Got a westbound express MU on number 3. And coming eastbound on number 1 track is train 658 en route from Penn Station, New York to Port Jefferson. I would imagine east of Queens will be switching to main line number 2 track. Got a train from Hempstead coming in at 4:52. And there's another MU stopped east of here on main line track number, well, he's going through Queens. He may be switching to number 1. Well, that's an equipment move that was coming off the Hempstead branch. And another train right behind them on number 3. And Queens Village is an impressive 2-story station. Street level on the lower level and platform level on the upper level. Jamaica Avenue, otherwise known as Queens Boulevard, otherwise known as Jericho Turnpike, otherwise known as New York Route 25. And we're now on the westbound platform here at Queens Village, looking at the signal bridge guarding Queens interlocking. And I neglected to mention that Jamaica Avenue, or Route 25, could also be referred to as Middle Country Road. Ronkonkoma bound at 4:58. 5:01, we have an eastbound MU on number 1 track. That eastbound M9's on number 2 track at 5:05. Hear him thumping over the switch points of Queens interlocking, heading for Ronkonkoma. Coming westbound fast on number 3 track is train 555 from Oyster Bay to Jamaica. And slithering into the Queens Village station, going westbound on number 3 track is train 761 from Hempstead to Atlantic Terminal, Brooklyn. And zipping by the signals at 5:18 is train 2778 en route from Hunters Point Avenue to Patchogue. And coming east on number 3 track at 5:26 is train, I'm not sure. If it's 660, only has an engine on one end. It's going kind of slow. That's an Oyster Bay train that went by, going kind of slow. Train by was 560 from Hunters Point Avenue to Oyster Bay. 660 is a little late from New York to Port Jeff. But here comes some slow M3s. He's being slowed by the 560 ahead of him, and 660 is gaining on him on number 1 track. 431, 660s heading east. He's got an approach signal on number 1. We got train 655 from Port Jeff to Jamaica, speeding west. He's picking up speed, but he's usually through here before 560 is. Yeah, the reason for the late 660 tonight, there was switch trouble on Amtrak just outside of Penn Station, so trains are experiencing 10 to 15 minute delays out of New York. Here comes 662 to Port Jeff at 541. He's en route from Hunters Point Avenue to Port Jeff. Normally I'd say 2740 from New York to Spionk will be right behind him, but not today. He's running about 10, 11 minutes late due to switch trouble outside of New York. Arriving at 545 is train 762 from Penn Station to Hempstead with M3s. Eastbound on 2 at 547. And that was a late running 2064 en route from New York to Ronkonkoma. Eastbound at 549 on number 1 track. He's got a clear signal. Due to these delayed trains, it's hard to keep track of what some of these MUs are. Westbound M3s at 553. As 764 arrives from Atlantic Terminal to Hempstead at 555, got some westbound M3s again. Approaching his train 2740 from New York to Spionk with a buddy of mine. At 6:02, that was train 2066 en route to Ronkonkoma. First stop out of New York is Wyandanch. She's running about 10 to 15 minutes late. Here comes 562 being blanked out by this westbound. Well, this guy's going to Penn Station from Hempstead. Most of them go to and from Atlantic Terminal. And at 6:14, we have an eastbound MU on number 1. He's delaying a Hicksville train that just passed by on number 2. And that was train 1730 from New York to Huntington. Looking east at the signal bridge, have approaches on number 1, number 2, and a clear on number 4. And an eastbound on 2 at 6:20. You can see brake shoe smoke to the west. It's got an approach here. Huntington-bound train, and he's being delayed here. They may be running something around him on 4. And approaching now at 6:23, he's running a bit late. His train 664 en route from Hunters Point Avenue to Port Jefferson. He's got an approach signal on number 1 track. Looks like he's going to follow that Huntington train that went by a little while ago. And we got a drag race at 6:25. Looks like a Hempstead train on number 4 track. This is 766 from New York to Hempstead. He's bound on 1, he has a clear. That was train 2070, the old Ronkonkoma Rocket. First stop is Hicksville after New York, then Brentwood, Central Islip, and Ronkonkoma. He's not going to be rocketing tonight with his running time from New York to Ronkonkoma due to those delays. take at 6:31. There's a New York Hempstead train stopping, being passed up by a Hicksville-bound train. And at 6:41, approaching now on number 1 track is train 666 from Hunters Point Avenue to Port Jefferson.
Saludos a todos. Manténgase usted y sus vecinos saludables, lavándose las manos frecuentemente. Utilice
The sun is going down. I had to get my coat on. Got to remember, it's still winter. Oh, it's been a glorious day. Just couldn't stay inside this afternoon. No way. Eastbound at 6:49, I believe 5:57 from Oyster Bay to Jamaica is coming west. .51, approaching westbound rather slowly on track number 3 is train 557 from Oyster Bay to Jamaica. He's chasing that local out of Hempstead. At 6:54, we have this eastbound Hempstead stopped on number 4. We got a diesel gaining on number 2. And that diesel is train 564 out of Penn Station, New York to Oyster Bay. Westbound by at 6:54. I had hoped to see 2716 from Jamaica to Montauk go through here. He normally does, but that train was canceled tonight. Time is 7:02 p.m. Daylight savings time. Oh, it's nice to have these late sunsets, especially on days like this. Got an eastbound MU on track number 1. It's got a clear signal. Sticking around for one more diesel, train 668 from Hunters Point Avenue to Port Jeff. Should be by pretty soon. What a wonderful day. Not a good day to be a couch potato. Just a delightful afternoon and evening odyssey here at Queens Village. One of Long Island Railroad's great. Westbound at 7:06. And here comes our last train that we'll see in this glorious afternoon and evening at Queens Village. This is train 668 en route from Hunters Point Avenue to Port Jefferson. He should be coming east on number 4 out of a glorious twilight. On the left is a maintenance away base. The last of the Port Jeff rush hour trains.